Good evening and welcome to 2020. Elizabeth Vargas is off tonight. It's Freaky Friday. Freaky because we're talking economics. Not the boring kind, but economics that looks at everyday life in freaky ways. It's what made this book, Freakanomics, a surprising bestseller. Tonight, the authors have teamed up to challenge you with some strange riddles about your world. So here's the first one. How is a beauty pageant contestant like a crack dealer? Every year, tens of thousands of young women compete in beauty pageants, many of them hoping one day they will end up on this stage and the announcer will say they were chosen.
Miss Oklahoma, Jennifer Berry.
Miss America.
Britlin Gleason hopes that will happen to her. The 16-year-old ran and lost at the Miss New Jersey Teen USA contest, but she keeps working at it, practicing walking, practicing being interviewed, practicing posing. Her mother even paid this coach to guide her.
You need to pause more often, and you need to have better articulation. It's fiercely competitive in that everybody wants it, and they're willing to give their right arm for it. So if you're going to be lazy and you're not going to work, there are 10 girls out there who will.
The coach was once a contestant, too.
Jennifer Alexis Macris, Miss New Jersey.
Here's second runner-up in the Miss America pageant. Now she helps young people like Britlin, who visualize the crown at the end of all this work.
So you follow with your head and then swing it back around this way.
I've always looked at pageants like, wow, and weeks, months before the pageant, you just have that dream every night of being crowned and winning and having your walk of, oh my gosh.
But what does this have to do with crack dealing? Well, Stephen Dubner and economist Stephen Levitt say competing in beauty contests and dealing crack are both jobs that are part of what they call the tournament of life. What's a tournament of life?
A lot of occupations and professions are yours, mine, his.
Or to a bigger extent, trying to become a professional athlete, a pop star or movie star. These are occupations with a particular career path.
They're like pyramids, and if you want to get to the top, you have to start at the bottom like a tournament, and very few people advance to the point where it's going to be really worth it to have played the game.
Which brings us back to crack dealing. These young men in New York told me drug dealing is very lucrative.
Is that right? Is the money that good?
Yep. Some had been jailed for dealing. They talked about what lured them into the business.
I saw all the things that the drug money was getting other people, and it led me into using drugs.
And what were the things you saw that it was getting other people?
Cars, sneakers, jewelry, material things that us young people want.
It's what most people think. But then one of Levitt's colleagues, sociologist Sudhir Venkatesh, spent years in this Chicago housing project with a crack gang.
I wanted to know who was making the money, what they were doing with their money, how much was the guy in the bottom of the pyramid making and the guy in the top of the pyramid making, and how did they manage something like this that was really illegal and quite dangerous.
Venkatesh got his hands on the gang's accounting ledger. It carefully documented profits and expenses.
And in these books are the answers to questions about gangs that no one has ever had before.
And what they saw was that the crack business is a tournament, just like the beauty pageants. The leaders at the top win fame and often big bucks, but everyone else struggles. That's why most actors and singers are waiting on tables. Tournament businesses are tough at the bottom levels, even selling crack. I would assume the guys on the street selling would be making a lot of money.
In fact, these foot soldiers were making less than minimum wage.
Less than minimum wage for taking the risk on the street, risk of being arrested or shot.
Being shot, being thrown in jail, all for less than minimum wage.
They make so little money, they couldn't afford their own apartments. They live with their mothers?
They live with their mothers because they don't have any money. They're only making $5, $10 an hour. As much as they'd like to be off on their own, consuming all sorts of exotic commodities, they just don't have the money.
When you get on a street level, it's really no money at all compared to what money is on the top.
Robin Harmon knows all about the tournament life. She once dealt crack on the streets of Hagerstown, Maryland. And she was also once Miss Maryland.
When I won, I was, oh my God, I was in shock.
But when she didn't reach the top in the beauty pageant tournament, she turned to crack. She was caught, served 11 months, and now lives in this halfway house. Now she knows only a few leaders of a crack gang make money.
The ones that actually are sitting back, getting fat and happy off of drug money. They're few and far between.
And this brings us back to our riddle. So a beauty contest contestant is like a crack dealer?
Yes. The answer is yes. The odds of any beautiful girl actually getting to that level are very, very slim, and yet there's a parade of people who are willing to do so because the reward is so great. And a crack gang, as it turns out, is an awful lot like that. A lot of people are willing to do a job that's really a very dangerous job, and it pays very poorly on the unlikely chance that they're going to be the one that rises to the top.
Can you put a price on looks? How would you test that? Well, economists have their ways. For example, if you were giving to charity, would you give more or less depending which of these people showed up at your door?
Hi, my name's Brad.
And I'm a University of
Chicago
student.
These young people are about to test a theory put forth by this economist.
Hi, group. I'm John List. I'm a professor from the economics department at the University of Chicago.
Do good-looking people collecting for charity collect more money?
You're very pretty.
You think?
Years ago, I ran a test on that. 2020 sent these two women out.
We have calendars and teddy bears.
One a model, one average-looking.
Good-looking girls like you to come sucker guys like us and give you money.
The prettiest girl collected 50% more. List's research is more scientific. He takes people's pictures, has them graded for looks on a scale of 1 to 10 by 20 independent evaluators.
Give them the brochure.
Before sending them out to solicit money for charity.
Don't be disappointed if people slam the door in your face.
The solicitors were told, ask for money for La Rabita's Children's Hospital.
I don't have any extra money.
And lots of people did slam doors. The young people wore a hidden camera, so he doesn't know he's on TV. We didn't want the camera to change people's behavior. We had another hidden camera on the street.
I'm visiting Lake County households today to raise awareness about La Rabita Children's Hospital.
I don't even know what La Rabita is. It sounds like Al-Qaeda.
We're only showing you the faces of the people who gave permission later.
Are you interested in making a contribution to that?
Not really.
No?
About 1 in 5 people gave money. We raised about $800 for the hospital.
Thank you very much.
Did the good-looking people do better?
I thought maybe at the beginning some people would make a lot more money than other people, and it just didn't work out like that.
Actually, it did work out like that. The best-looking people, like Michelle, collected more money.
Michelle raised roughly 3 times what the average solicitor in this industry raises.
List's research consistently finds good-looking women do the best.
When you go from the average physical attraction, which let's say is a 5, to a 7, that will cause twice as many households to give.
Would the women raise even more if they simply changed their hair color? We made Michelle a blonde.
I will do anything for science.
And we did the same for Evie.
God, you're blonde! So would you give me more money? No?
Hell yeah!
You're hot!
And back on the street, the difference was noticeable.
Would you like a receipt?
No, the check will be fine.
Okay, thank you.
This woman was so smitten with Michelle, she invited her into her home.
Come on,
You know what? I'm not allowed to go inside.
Here's $10.
Once the women were blonde, they collected more than anyone.
Thank you very much,
good luck
sir.
with the tour of the neighborhood.
Thank you.
But their looks had nothing to do with it, said this man.
If she was ugly, it wouldn't have mattered. I still would have given her the money, because of the cause.
There's a pretty young girl at the door.
But I suspect this woman, who'd invited Michelle inside, and her son were more honest.
We were getting lunch ready, and then I heard there was a pretty young girl at the door, and so I turned around because I was at the
That
kitchen sink.
attracted him.
Hello.
There you go.
Oh, thank you
Great.
so much.
Thank
Would
you.
you like a receipt for taxes?
No, that's okay.
Okay,
That's fine.
thank you.
When Evie turned blonde, twice as many households gave her money.
That just makes me want to dye my hair blonde. After listening to these results, I think I would have to hire all blondes. I think they'd all have to be, rated a 9 or a 10 attractiveness.
A kiss on the hand.
Gentlemen prefer blondes, and it's not just in the movies, it's when you go door to door knocking, trying to get contributions as well. Even women tend to be more generous in donating to blonde women when they come and knock on the door.
Here's your receipt.
This is unfair. This is cruel.
But that's not the way economists think about it. Economists think it just is. So can we put a price on it? How much is it worth?
Here's $5.
Okay, blondes do better collecting for charity.
Harmony matches you at a deeper level.
But does that also mean they'll get more dates on an internet dating service? Apparently women think so, because a big new study of internet dating found just 12% of men say they're blonde, but 28% of the women on the site list themselves as blonde.
There's either a lot of women who are dying or lying, or maybe both.
Match.com has 15 million passionate people.
Internet dating services are a goldmine for economists looking to see if you can put a price on looks. So can you put a price on looks?
Absolutely. About $150,000 a year.
That, say the economists, is how much more money a man like this would have to earn to be as popular as this model.
So if I'm a really ugly guy, which some people might argue that I am, in order to have as good a shot in online dating as a really good-looking guy, I need to make like $150,000 more.
Romance without finance is a nuisance.
They know this because economists studied thousands of pictures on a dating site like this one and then compiled the responses those people got. What they learned confirms what we've always heard in popular culture like this jazz classic.
Baby, you know I need me some gold.
And what the women who run this dating service have noticed.
You can absolutely put a price on looks for dating. There is no question about it.
They've pointed out that there are plenty of examples where money trumps looks.
I want to marry him for your money.
As Marilyn Monroe said in the movie.
Don't you know that a man being rich is like a girl being pretty?
The money effect allows economists to measure all kinds of things, like how much race matters and whether money can trump that too. On the website the economists studied, half the women said they'd date someone of a different race. But
What women and men genuinely say up front is not always what they mean.
When you actually measure their responses, the emails that they send out to people that they want to date, 97% of the replies from these white women go to white men.
Which invites an economic test. How much more money would a man make before he'd become popular to women of another race? Here are the results. White women prefer white men, but respond equally to profiles from Hispanic men if they make $77,000 a year more, to black men only if they make $154,000 a year more, and to an Asian man, $250,000 more.
240? What? Really?
You tend to need just an extra security deposit when you go for someone outside of your own race.
Black women also prefer black men. Hispanics must make $184,000 more to be equally sought after. Whites have to make $220,000 more.
They seem pretty accurate to me.
I would believe that. So women do put a price on looks.
The Beatles knew money can't buy me love. They may be right. It may not buy you love, but it can certainly buy you like a really good-looking date.
Now that's kind of ugly news, but the good news is that research is just about first impressions. Once people get to know someone, everything changes. Intermarriage is increasing in America. 5% of women now marry someone of a different race, and those men don't earn anywhere near what the dating studies would suggest was needed. How is a black, straight-A student like a Hollywood celebrity? The Freakanomics authors claim they're both lonely. Lonely? How can celebrities be lonely? A celebrity lives a life many people envy.
I don't know whether I'm dreaming or not.
And yet it is also true that many celebrities talk about being lonely. Lisa Marie Presley said stardom is a lonely, alienated position. Marlon Brando said his fame made him feel isolated and a little alone. And Johnny Carson was famous for his solitary life.
I'm sure there are a lot of people who want to be friends with a Hollywood star, but there probably aren't that many people that a Hollywood star necessarily wants to be friends with, because it gets to be hard to trust people and to see what people are really after.
The author of The Success Syndrome, Hitting Bottom When You Reach the Top, says many celebrities are lonely. It's so counterintuitive. How can celebrities be lonely when everybody seems to want to be with them?
They don't have people who understand them as people. And this is very understood by anyone who's at the top of a profession.
Jennifer!
He singles out Jennifer Aniston. Now, I'd think she was the least lonely person in the world. Go to a newsstand and she's on most every magazine cover. And yet she told Diane Sawyer that she's been lonely for much of her life. Now, what does this have to do with high-achieving black students?
High-achieving black students have many fewer friends than high-achieving white students.
These students are high achievers, so much so that they now attend Harvard. They're very likable people, and yet in high school, you think he had fewer friends?
Definitely. Almost to the end of high school, I could count my friends on one hand.
That maps into like an 8x8 matrix.
But only if you are Hispanic or black, according to the research being done by Harvard economist Roland Fryer.
You know, there's this old adage, it's lonely at the top. And maybe that fits well for the students here at Harvard and movie stars.
Fryer looked at the grades of 90,000 students who'd been asked to write down who their friends were. He discovered that black students who got good grades had fewer friends.
Say cheese.
Cheese! But what about white kids who get good grades? Don't the Revenge of the Nerds movies reflect the truth that the popular kids are the athletes and goof-offs, not the good students? I was kind of nerdy in high school and thought my good grades made me less popular. But Fryer says for most white students, higher grades usually means more friends.
Actually, their social popularity increases. I don't know, John. Maybe,
but not for black students.
Not for black students. For blacks, it also, higher grades yielded higher popularity, except up until about a 3.2. After a 3.2 GPA, it fell off. Black youth who do well in school have fewer friends.
How'd you come up with this idea?
Watching 2020. I know this is going to seem like a real plug for 2020. I don't mean to do that.
Oh, let's.
You acting white, you selling out. You fronting, basically.
It was a report from 7 years ago that pointed out some blacks work less hard in school to avoid the charge of acting white.
Will Smith talks about hiding his books in pizza boxes on his way home because he was afraid that his friends would see he would study. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar talks about being accused of acting white because he read well in the 4th grade.
How many of you have been told you were acting white?
People would say, you think you're white, you think you're Barbie.
They get the celebrity similarity.
It does make you lonely sometimes.
It can be alienating to be a celebrity. It can be alienating to be, quote, smarter than other people or get higher grades than other people.
Lisa! Well, celebrities may have to accept their loneliness, but many blacks are saying this attitude has to change.
Eradicate the slander that says a black youth with a book is acting white.
I'll say, wait a minute. Being black is being smart. Being black is trying the best that I can to do who I can be. Being black is just being a human being, just trying to do what I can do.
We're not going to let anyone hold us back with negative stereotypes and negative conceptions of what a black person should be.
The book Freakanomics has been a bestseller now for a year. That's unheard of for a book about economics. Okay, Freakanomics makes it fun, but another reason is that one of the authors is a very unusual man.
Well, one thing that more and more economists have turned to is actually doing experiments.
That's Stephen Levitt. He's the economist. Stephen Dubner is the co-writer. Both now work as consultants for ABC News. Levitt's the one who solves the puzzles.
So are there more guns or people in the United States?
At the University of Chicago, his classes have waiting lists.
There was a lottery to get into the class.
Yeah, there were a lot of people who wanted to get into it, and there just wasn't enough room.
What made Levitt really famous was this article that Dubner did on him, calling him the most brilliant young economist in America. After this article ran, you got all kinds of strange phone calls.
Yeah, everybody from the Yankees to U.S. senators, the CIA.
The CIA?
The article ended by me claiming that given the right data, I'd be better at catching terrorists than the CIA. And the CIA was interested in understanding how I was going to do that.
66%.
Dubner describes Levitt as high nerd, and it's a good description.
He wears kind of nerdy clothes and has a cute little professorial lisp.
Okay, so lots of dimensions.
And Levitt admits he's a nerd.
Oh my goodness, you're so lucky.
You call yourself the weakest human being alive?
Absolutely. I need my wife to open jars for me. I'm not proud of it, but you got to admit to what you are.
Robert.
He may be a nerd, but he's an effective one. A few years ago, Levitt noticed that student test results in Chicago were going up. He wondered, was it because teachers, to make their teaching look better, were improving their students' scores by changing their answers?
They were just to get their kids' scores back up to average.
No one had been able to prove it until Levitt and one of his students found a simple way to check.
It turns out the single best indicator that there's cheating going on in a classroom is when the students get the easy questions wrong and the hard questions right. If a student doesn't know that 2 + 2 = 4, the chances that they know that 2 to the 4th is equal to 16 is almost 0.
He found clear patterns of cheating that the schools never noticed, says the head of Chicago schools.
We then went to those teachers, confronted them with the evidence, and we fired them.
Levitt is constantly searching for new ways to understand behavior. By looking at win-loss records of sumo wrestlers, he figured out that some were fixing matches when incentives were right. And that led to a chapter in Freakonomics. What do school teachers and sumo wrestlers have in common?
Under the right circumstances, they'll cheat.
After you read how he does this, you say, oh man, that's common sense. But of course, no one else has thought of these things, and his ability to come up with brilliant ideas that are simple in so many different fields is absolutely staggering.
The two cities look very similar.
People keep saying things like that about Levitt, calling him
the smartest person in the room. I don't know if I know of a smarter person walking around anywhere.
Even his critics.
Well, I mean, he's a giant. He's really smart.
How can he be a giant? He's your age, younger.
He's got the most prestigious award the profession can offer for an economist under 40. I mean, he's been recognized as perhaps the best economist under 40 of his generation.
Let's say that you did one of these policies.
So we can look forward to more original thinking represented by that orange or apple on the cover of their book. What's the point here?
It looks like an apple, and you cut it open, then it's an orange, right? So a lot of things which we assume are one thing, once you look at something not with your emotion or opinion, it turns out to be very different than you thought.
Now, the next Freakonomics riddle. How is an abortion like a prison? This claim makes a lot of people angry. This riddle begins 30 years ago when crime in much of America seemed out of control.
The neighborhood is getting very, very bad. It's impossible to go out at night.
That's right, you live in fear.
Crime was up all over the country, but we'll focus on New York City because people were most scared of New York.
The city, a place of terror.
An ABC News report said the subways were especially scary. 12,000 felonies and 16 murders in the year 1979. At the time, most everyone believed crime would only just get worse.
The rise in crime, although something that troubled people, was pretty much taken as kind of the way it is.
Jim Finkenauer is a professor of criminal justice at Rutgers University.
There was not a lot of confidence that there was going to be any major drop in crime.
And yet, 30 years later, New Yorkers were surprised at this astonishing news.
The serious crime rate in the city has dropped 39% in the last 3 years, the lowest since the 1920s.
Great surprise to us in criminology. Crime begins to go down. People were saying every year, people like me, people in my business, were saying, can't go any lower.
And yet it kept going lower.
Violent crime is down, robbery is down, assault is down, burglary is down. For 5 years.
President Clinton took credit for it.
He had called, remember, 100,000 police officers on the street, all sorts of crime initiatives. He got to bathe in the glory of a reduction of crime.
The president said it was the extra police.
It has done more to bring the crime rate down than anything else.
Though in California, the governor claimed it was locking more people up.
3 strikes is the most important victory yet.
To 1,839.
And in New York, Mayor Giuliani took credit because he cracked down on minor offenses.
Has to do with paying attention to the things we were ignoring in the past. Aggressive panhandling, squeegee operators, graffiti. You pay attention to these things, and all of a sudden you're going to start to see murder come down by 30–40%.
So who was right?
I spent about 5 years studying the different reasons why crime would fall. Was it police? Was it prisons? Was it the economy?
Levitt's conclusion? 40% of the crime drop is due to locking up over 1 million more criminals, 15% due to the waning of the crack epidemic, and 10% from having more cops on the street.
What's left over, 30 or 40%, I actually believe is attributable to a cause that no one ever expected, which was the legalization of abortion.
What? Abortion reduced crime?
Specifically, the court today overturned laws in Texas.
The Supreme Court did legalize abortion 18 years before crime started to drop, but why would that reduce crime?
It's a very simple theory. Unwanted children are at tremendous risk for growing up and having criminal lives. With the legalization of abortion, many fewer unwanted children were born. Therefore, the children who were at most risk for being criminals, they were never born.
And about 18 years later, the effect was felt because 16 to 24-year-olds commit the most crimes. So that, they say, is how an abortion is like a prison. Now, this ticked a lot of people off.
It did make people mad, the argument that abortion reduced crime.
We won't stop! We won't
People on the left were mad because they thought it was a racist statement.
I was born to a poor single mother, and I became a presidential candidate and a minister. So why wouldn't he assume there'd be more of that?
People on the right were angry too.
The response from the right was that this is crazy because abortion is murder.
But Levitt takes no position on abortion. You're not saying this is an argument to keep abortion legal?
Not really. We're simply trying to say crime went down, and this appears to be one of the factors that had to do with it. But that doesn't make abortion right or wrong.
Some economists said his statistics were wrong. Ted Joyce of Baruch College.
Maybe abortion had some small effect. I don't think you can pull it out of the data.
We're not going to solve this here. Perhaps the ultimate test will take place in South Dakota. If their new law outlawing abortion withstands legal challenge, in 18 years, will crime rise here? Stay tuned. Now, our next riddle. How is a child's car seat like a DVD player? The car seats protect children in car crashes. How would a DVD player do that? Here's that story.
You look so handsome. Mom, have to buckle them up.
The law in every state says you must put your children in car seats. It's for their safety. And most every parent obeys the law.
To put it up over his shoulder like this, you see?
Paul and Kelly Snisky are very careful about it.
Anybody driving a child has to have a car seat, otherwise you don't drive the child.
The Sniskys have 4 kids and always strap them into car seats or booster seats when they go for a drive. And the Freakonomics authors have no quarrel with that.
No one would disagree that restraining your child isn't about the single best thing you can do for protecting their life.
But Levitt recently examined the data from the government's fatality analysis reporting system and came to a surprising conclusion.
There seems to be very little evidence that car seats and booster seats are any better for 2-year-olds than putting your child in the back seat with a seatbelt.
Don't child seats work better than seatbelts?
According to my research, not much at all.
Crash tests do show that properly installed safety seats do save lives. But who says your kids' seats are properly installed? Many of us parents are bewildered when we go to buy a car seat. There are so many brands, different models for babies, toddlers, and bigger kids, different ways to install them.
It goes underneath the fabric across. Right. You buckle it in, make it tight, you snap on both sides.
Over the years, Paul and Kelly have bought 15 car seats, so they were getting pretty good at it. But watch how Paul struggles when he installs this new one.
Now I'm lost already. Where are the clips? Got it. Now, which way does this go?
It took him 15 minutes to put it in, plus a booster seat. Then it turned out he'd done it wrong.
I opened up the directions, and it said, you're supposed to screw in the arm. And I never thought of screwing in the arm. It looked like all the pieces snapped together. And generally, I consider that a success.
As many as 80% of the seats out there are not either used properly or installed properly. That's a serious
80%?
80%.
So most everybody has them in wrong?
Or they're using them wrong.
This is a child car seat inspection station in Pasadena, California.
Hello. Hi. Welcome.
It's run by Safety Belt Safe USA, one of many nonprofits that teach people how to install seats properly.
If we can pinch material in our fingers like this, is too loose.
Oh, okay.
As usual, most of the cars that stopped were found to have seats that were not installed correctly.
If something is so hard for so many people to do right, is that the optimal solution? Probably not.
The car seat rule sounds just like a government program, say the Freakonomics authors. The seats are big, bulky, federally mandated, and hard to install. And expensive. From $80 to $150, $270, almost $300. But even that doesn't buy you safety if it's too complicated to install correctly.
Is it the fault of parents if after 20 years they still can't get the car seats in? Or is it the fault of the car seat manufacturers, the government, for having a product that is so difficult to do right?
David Campbell is spokesman for the companies that make child seats. Are they easy to install?
It depends upon the vehicle and the restraint system.
Sounds like you're admitting, no, they're not easy to install.
It may be difficult to install in some vehicles, yes.
Check out the directions, 39 pages from the Graco company. So you think that the customer reads this stuff? I mean, page after page, do this, step 1, step 2, step 3.
We'd like to believe that they will read that information because it's provided to explain to them how to properly use the restraint with their child.
But do you think they do?
I believe in a lot of cases they do.
And in a lot of cases, they don't. These are the reasons Levitt came to the provocative conclusion that once kids are 2 years old, they are just as safe in a regular seatbelt, if we could only find a way to get them to sit still in the car. Hence the answer to the riddle, how is a car seat like a DVD player? Both will get your kid to sit still.
Rather than strapping on a car seat, maybe you just need a seatbelt and a DVD player in the back seat. My kids sit very still when you turn on the DVD player.
The Freakonomics authors say once a child is 2 years old, the car seats don't make any difference. A regular seat belt, even though it doesn't fit well, is just as good.
Well, we certainly don't believe that's true. Child safety seats are far more effective. What the authors have failed to do is they have failed to look at injury data. They looked at only fatality data.
Well, they now say they've looked at the injury data, they've gone to the hospital records, and they find the same thing, no difference.
Well, that's an unpublished study. We haven't seen that study, so we really can't comment on it.
The new study will be published soon. It concludes that after the age of 2, in most cases, child seats are no better at protecting your kids than seat belts.
I don't think anything I've ever done has upset people as much as my claims that car seats don't work well. I think there is practically a religious belief in the benefits of car seats among parents.
So what's a parent to do? Well, you still have to obey the law and strap your kids in, but take advantage of the 24,000 trained car seat inspectors who volunteer to teach you how to do it right. It's only when the seats are installed correctly that they really save lives. How are consumers like tamarin monkeys? In this case, the Freakonomics authors say both will do for others what they'd like others to do for them. Commercial fishing is hard work. The crew on the scallop trawler spends 3 weeks at sea. They work day and night, repairing their rigs, hauling in thousands of pounds of scallops in these huge steel nets, and then shucking each of them by hand right on the boat. Finally, they come back to shore here in Stonington, Connecticut, and then the owner of the ship, Bill Baumster, helps the crew unload.
He's going to open up a bag here, so...
Now, these scallops are expensive, $15 a pound, so you'd think they'd keep a careful eye on them when they sell them. But watch what they do instead.
It's like a good day for scallop sales today.
They just put hundreds of dollars of them in this cooler, along with tuna, salmon, and other fish they buy from other fishermen, and then they go away.
What we do is we put some out in the freezer with some change money. We usually put $10, $20 worth of change, and we just let the people come up and take the scallops and leave their money.
So it's 18, so I get 2 back.
Anyone could look through the fish available and just take them. Won't they rip him off? Won't they rip off Linda Brunick? She also runs a business based on trust. She gets up at dawn and buys donuts and bagels.
$18.
She then takes them to businesses in town and lays out this spread, adding some cream cheese and a payment box.
I leave out a nice little note wishing them a good morning and, hopefully a little something to brighten their day.
So won't people steal from her? No one's watching them. And won't they rip off Bill? Amazingly, they don't. They put cash in the slot, or write checks, or swipe a credit card even. People are really this honest?
Very honest, very honest. I would say 99.9% are honest. I've had people come up and say that they didn't have change, right change, and they owed me 50 cents, and they leave me a little note saying they owe me 50 cents.
We like the way the man does business.
We like the fish.
We like the fish.
Linda was worried about theft, but she read an article by the Freakonomics authors about a similar honor system business.
So I thought I'd give it a shot. I trust human nature to a certain extent.
Her customers return her trust. Most everyone pays. This man said he wouldn't consider not paying.
It would just be wrong, and if I was in her position, I wouldn't want it done to me.
People often ask me, why is crime so high? And I say the real puzzle is why is crime so low? We all have many opportunities to steal, to pillage, whatever, but we don't take advantage of them. We hold back.
People are afraid of being caught.
Partly it's being caught, but I think it's something deeper. Even when the chances of being caught are very, very low, people are willing to pay the money.
All this surprised me because I once set up a buffet at a hotel under the banner of the SFN Society. SFN stood for Something for Nothing, because I wanted to see if hotel guests would help themselves to food they weren't entitled to. Many did. Most, at least, were embarrassed about it.
This is for the SFN Society.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Put it back?
No, you can keep it. Go ahead, keep it.
Studying how people act in these sorts of situations is called behavioral economics. Why do people pay for Linda's Bagels when they don't really have to?
I think they're honest because they recognize that if they don't pay for the service, I won't be able to provide it.
Maybe. Or maybe they were taught the golden rule. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Or maybe it just comes naturally. Maybe even monkeys would do it.
The goal of our experiments was to see if
Psychologist Mark
animals would
Hauser,
help each other,
economist Keith
contingent
Chen
upon
designed an
getting help
experiment
back.
with tamarin monkeys to see would they follow the golden rule and help their fellow monkey even when there was no immediate reward for it. We humans are moral creatures, and we may be honest because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and we see exactly that tendency in this species of monkey.
So first we're going to bait this area.
They put these two monkeys in adjoining cages and set up a tray with a lever on it. A treat is put in front of this monkey, but only the other one can pull the lever that would let his companion reach the treat. Look at how the monkey on the left pulls the lever. He gets nothing for doing that. He's counting on his companion to return the favor when it's his turn. And he does. Just like Bill and Linda count on their customer to pay when they put their products out.
Why? He could grab the bagel and no one would know.
Yeah, exactly, right? Just between you and God, you know what I mean? Like, you could grab a bagel, you could eat it, you could enjoy it, and and you could do something else with the dollar that you're supposed to put in the box, right? But this guy's been nice to you, and very similar to our monkeys. When somebody's been nice to you, you'll see people, both office workers and monkeys, kind of reciprocating.
Even these monkeys, who are kind of nasty.
The solution seemed to be, well, I'll scratch your back if you'll scratch mine at some point in the future.
But what if one monkey doesn't pull the lever? What do the other monkeys do?
They just show signs that they're really
And they
upset.
won't pull a lever for this monkey.
Oh, they won't go near the lever for this monkey. Yeah.
Imagine the fish guy is very nice. He brings back his bounty. He sets out and says, if you guys leave your money for the fish, I will keep bringing you fish. And then one day the community cheats and starts taking the fish and doesn't give him the money. He will stop too.
That almost happened to Bill. He sold fish on the honor system for 10 years, but then he suffered a big theft. So he put in a camera and caught this young man stealing.
Now you're going to see the kid come over here on his bicycle. He goes over to where my change is. He's taking my change. Little bastard.
Thanks to these pictures, the police caught him.
Police brought him down, and I gave him a good talking to. Basically told him, next time I'm not going to call the police, I'm going to come over and visit you. And I haven't had any more problem with it.
Most people, like those tamarin monkeys, do the right thing.
If people started not paying, then it wouldn't be here and would be bummed.
Most people are very, very good. I think people appreciate being trusted.
Here, I have a 10, Lorraine.
I think that once they see that they're trusted, they treat us right.
I'm John Stossel. For all of us at 2020, good night.